Welcome to JMC Live. I am your host, Jeremy Caverly. We do this every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. And while no one can see my face, my wife is laughing at me because we had a hilarious moment where I hacked something up and a curveball ensued and Miranda screamed, and kind of like she screamed earlier when this dead spider landed on her, and it was quite funny, and we're trying not to laugh and be serious right now. For those of you looking at the screen in front of you, you're seeing about our last week's show, which was Love One Another. Good news we have. Fellow cousin of my wife is receiving a scholarship to a college in North Carolina, a Wesleyan college. And over this period of this week, we've had Mr. Alan Davis. He's a former CFO for Adena Medical Care. He also has certifications of CPAs, and he pretty much understands wholeheartedly financial statements. He's above the level of a financial analyst. It's normally something you do when you get in. He's got over 30 years experience. The man looks 40. He's 62. He has an account at asamom.com, and we interviewed him for a good 40 minutes. He's going to come back to the house. And you will have more opportunities to hear about Stop the Madness with Alan Davis. It'll be our own segment show that we'll do with Alan, talking about different financial things from income taxes to the state budgets, financial budgets, and different things like that. He's currently running for city council here in Chillicothe, Ohio. So if you guys want to vote for him, you can. Just recently, in the last hour, Miranda did the latest vlog. And we're talking about all the things that are going on with that. And I also have to point out, for those of you that are in the chat, our interview with Candy Mitchell. You know, we've been raising money with her since February. You can actually watch the video, check out the things that she's been doing. And it's been really great to see all the wonderful things that God has actually done to assist and carry her through. As you're listening on the show, you're hearing the actual interview bleeding over my voice. Only on live show can you see that right now. But I'm probably going to stop it here in a second. But yeah, we interviewed Candy. I'm just giving you a few little highlights of the interview for those that are exclusively live in the chat. If not, you can go to our YouTube page and you can actually listen live to hear some of that. Well, what's happened is we've raised all of her back rent money, which is an amazing feat.
Actually, it was her mortgage.
Her mortgage, excuse me. I'm getting things mixed up. But anyway, yeah, for those of you who want to see me, I'm right here live with you guys. A lot of things are going on. I just wanted to let you know that God is taking care of people's needs, because it's just so amazing that what God ends up doing and carrying us through to the next point. Like I said, the whole Alan Davis thing, he's probably going to come over maybe this weekend. We're going to be working on some stuff for him, checking some things out to let him know. I'm going to give you guys a touch, flavor of what Mr. Alan Davis has written. I have his letters he sends to the White House, anyone else that would want to see. And exclusively for those of you in the chat, you're going to get to read one with me. I'm not going to read it all, but I'm going to skim through it enough to where you can get the meat and potatoes of what's going on. And the cool thing is, Mr. Davis, and I'm just going to get rid of his address so you don't see it, but this is his letter. He sent this February 24th to the president, talking about the inflation and the different changes. He ends up mentioning here about CPI. For those of you who kind of wonder what CPI is, it's about the treasury rates connected to inflations and interest for the year, and the projections. See, assumptions are projections of what they're going to have the year. They do these assumptions to predict how the economy is going to be affected, and by doing this is how they decide on what the budget will be for the rest of the year, based on what they assume will happen. How much should we cut? How much should we spend? Well, by keeping some of these numbers low, which is not bad for those that don't really understand, eventually interests and debts have to be paid. And to do that, the inflations and the interest rates end up going up. And they go up a lot. Never has any of these assumptions ever been met. And the things have gotten really bad. In the 70s, CPI was up to 11%. In the 80s, we had about 6 to 10%. You can see, and he does the homework. He goes on the White House websites, and he finds all this information. For those of you that are actually in the chat looking at this, he takes the time to draw all this information up, looks everything up, and he realizes it's going to take a very, very long time to try and balance a budget, try and fix some things that may have happened. For those of you who might want to see another one, he sent me another one he talked about in the show, in the interview. This is the Austin Goolsbee, the chief economist. This is what he sent to this guy. And I'm just scrolling through it so you can see. He's talking about the budget for the following year and the assumptions. And he's just asking questions as to, excuse me for that, why are we using these target numbers, and how are we supposed to, you see his name right here, Mr. Alan Davis, private citizen. And he doesn't get it. He's been doing this since like 1996. He's not getting. He's got some responses back for some people. We'll forward this on. But the answer that you would think someone at the level of a former CFO, he's not getting the respect, I believe, that he should as he calls himself a private citizen. Lots of things are also happening in society and today. Right now, breaking news just posted 5 minutes ago, and I'm using a source that some of you won't like, but that's fine. This is the Al Arabia News Channel. West Libya and government hands ease problematic. They are also talking about, is posted on breaking news, that over here on the Twitter site you can see violence reported from Libyan oil port. Truckloads of armed rebels heading there. Artillery fire heard. This is all going on for the over in Tripoli and the different areas. So this thing is getting blown up like massively crazy. I've told you guys that the Middle East will fall apart, and it is falling apart. It's kind of obvious the Middle East will fall apart. It's not going to stay all nice and pretty. Yeah, the social networking is to blame for the uprising, but there are 3 versions of Arabs.
But I truly believe if it hadn't been for social networking, we wouldn't know about the atrocities that are being committed.
That's the other side.
It's like how Hitler hid all of his atrocities back in the 40s, when in late 30s, when he was killing all the Jews and doing all that he did. Nobody knew what he was doing until the Americans and the Allied troops actually got into those concentration camps, and they saw firsthand what was being done. And only then was it known. And by then, all of it had been committed. Millions of people had been murdered.
Yep, things are getting really, really crazy, folks.
So I think social networking and social media has helped to show the world what is going on in real time, so we can try to stop it.
Well, let's get back to.
I'm sorry, I had to.
What does this have to? Well, I mean, yeah, it's great. Social media is bringing this out, but what should happen? You know, we're trying to stop having dependency on foreign countries for oil. You have fights, and I'm calling it fights over, global warming, and then there's arguments about let's protect the earth, the ecology of what's going on, something's going to get destroyed. Oh no, we had that big oil spill, so we can't do anymore. And I'm sitting there thinking, if we don't start trying to find an alternative solution, which does cost more, but what if you got a tax break for it, so then you could pay for it or something? There's solutions for this problem. We don't have to be dependent on oil.
Having gas at $5 a gallon in Florida is going to be, people are going to be able to last dealing with
not everyone in Florida is having it. There's like a couple of places that are scalping prices. Like here in Ohio, I can go and get gas for $3.30, or I can go get it for $3.49, depending on what time of the day I get. These 10, 15 cent changes all the time. This is something that needs to be regulated across the board. Why don't you just make gas $3.50 across the board? It'll stay like that for 5 years.
The thing that I remember...
It's like food. You do see the change of food happen much often?
Do you remember 3 years ago when we first were together and we were in California, and gas in California was $3 a gallon in something, but it was only $2 something a gallon in... and almost $3 a gallon here in Ohio. And I can remember people specifically saying, if gas gets to $3 a gallon, I won't be able to drive anymore. Well, they've changed that now. Now we're seeing on the news people saying, well, if it gets to $5 a gallon, I won't be able to drive anymore. When are we as a country going to say enough is enough? We can't deal with this anymore. We have to stop being greedy.
See, I think gas and the whole situation, and I know this is we're not gonna get into it. So
Okay.
But I know that gas and the price of gas and how we're asking about price of gas is no different than the unions in the United States that are fighting here in Ohio and Wisconsin asking for more benefits. Everybody wants more pay. The Arabs need more money because things are getting blown up and destroyed. It's kind of common sense. You destroy a pipeline, you got to pay for it. There's worry that they're going to bomb, some of these oil reserves. I mean, that's the threat. They're going to throw a bomb, the oil reserve, and destroy all the oil. I don't think it would destroy it at all. Unless you had some massive, big thing, but that's bad for everyone. Even the terrorists don't really. Most of the terrorists aren't really into this.
They're getting their money from the oil company.
Yeah,
they can't blow up the oil companies. You can't blow up the. I mean, have some common sense. It's nuts. Now on to another frightening subject that we got posted on Eternal Flame News here. And I'm going to have to go into this in two pieces. Associated Press talks about, I've gone to college, and we already did that show on that sex ecology thing down in Athens, and nobody really gave a stink about it. Well, here in Chicago, they went a lot further and brought in a motorized sex toy into a classroom and allowed two people to perform sex acts.
Well, I was gonna say they were gonna allow two people to initiate actively using this motorized object.
Yeah.
Putting batteries in, turning it on, and then inserting it and using it.
It was just more than that. It was a total.
They were having sex with objects in a classroom.
In a classroom in front of a lot of students.
It's really crazy. They talked about, they decided that a video to the students watching on the female orgasm was not as realistic as a live presentation. So they were watching a live presentation of an orgasmic event. That is pretty crazy. And this is college. This is Northwestern University in Chicago. If we're going at the level of college,
parents are spending thousands and thousands of dollars a year to send their kids to this, and this is what their money's paying for. That's honestly what their money's paying for.
And then on the other note, you have, and there's multiple places we can look at this. This is the American Patriots blog. NEA to UN, oral sex, masturbation, and orgasms need to be taught in school. Now, I have to blow your bubble on this. No pun intended. They already do that. They talk about wet dreams. They talk about ejaculations, early ejaculations. They already do this in schools. Well, there's 3 or 4 different people that have connected this, and the UN is wanting to allow kindergarten through 12th grade public schools to start communicating about sexual activity. More so, they think they'll break the stigma of homosexuality and oral sex by talking about it and having more things happen. I remember it was 6th, 7th grade. They brought in a banana and put a condom on a banana, and they gave us all condoms.
They didn't do that in my school here in Ohio. They didn't ever go that far.
The other side of the coin is then you'll have people that are over the age of 30 and 50, 60 years of age that never talk to their kids about sex whatsoever, but then they get upset because the school's talking about it. But at what line does the school talk about sexual activities? I
don't see that it is the school's responsibility unless there is a child that comes and goes to a guidance counselor or something like that, approaches, say, I'm having issues.
But see, that's the problem. They're saying that you have to have these kind of events to get people to want to come forward to get help.
I don't know. See, I mean,
I
remember as a teenager,
did
you honestly want to go talk to a teacher about your sexual anything?
Here's the one thing.
I wouldn't want to go talk to any teacher.
Here's the one thing I don't understand. Don't we have a law in the United States saying it's illegal to have sex under the age of 18? And if someone such as my age had sex with a minor, I would be charged with statutory rape.
Yes.
Labeled as a sex offender, labeled as a pedophile.
Yes.
Now, why is that wrong? But you're going to tell me I could go into school if I had the education. I can go into your classroom. I can sit here and fantasize how I'm having sex with you as I'm talking to you about how to have sex with your kids because I'm a nurse or I'm a doctor or whatever person. I see a double standard here.
Yeah, I do too.
If I was a kid listening, and even when they did the whole condom thing, I felt very uncomfortable with all this stuff. I'm like, You're an adult. I'm a kid. I mean, yeah, I understand there's a fine line that your parents are supposed to talk to you about some of these things, but where does the line cross on what are you supposed to talk about? And I think what they're honestly doing, I think what the world is honestly doing, what Satan is trying to do, is to make pedophilia completely fine.
Oh, yeah. Completely.
That's what they're doing. That's what this comes down to. The UN says it's okay for 12, 13, 14-year-olds to have sex anyway. The United States says no. Well, if you're going to start telling kids you can have sex and masturbate and have condoms...
Children as young as 10 are arranged with marriages to these older men.
That's why this should be illegal. Because if you don't agree with pedophilia, it's like, well, it's okay. I don't have problems with kids having sex. Well, right now, it's against the law to kids to have sex with each other, as far as I know. You can't have sex with... Kids can't have sex with kids. And I'm talking about anyone under 18. And you sure as heck can't have sex over 18 to under 18.
Yeah. So
why are we promoting safe sex if it's illegal? Well, it's not working. So you see what they're trying to secretly do? They're trying to make you think like I was just thinking out loud. It's a double standard. I'm tired of these double standards, and I feel like I'm sticking my foot in my mouth because the wrong person is going to go ahead and want to change these laws and legalize this nasty crap. And I think it's nuts.
I think we're spending too much time worrying about children's sexual behaviors instead of teaching them and educating them to where they can be productive citizens.
Yeah, I mean, why not have a class on life, like how to pay your bills and what kind of job and stuff you want to do? Why not get more into that?
Yeah.
Here's another thing. Let's get rid of the state standardized test and make a national standardized test. Make all schools teach a set curriculum across the board so all of our students are learning a general thing. The only difference is in your state you teach about your state history.
Exactly.
That should be the only real difference.
I agree.
Everyone should have the same kind of math classes. The only difference should be what is your pay scale.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly. You know, and I mean, it gets really crazy. I think we should all be able to talk about God and Jesus and everything. And you can't in school anymore. But you can talk about sex. You can talk about Muslims. You can talk about Wicca. You can talk about Satan. But you can't talk about God. No. We can't do that. No, it's wrong. You just can't do it. I just don't... it makes me angry. It's crazy. And then we have this nice little wonderful, thing going on with gas. And, gas is... I mentioned this a minute ago, and I'm looking at this here. Gas. Look at this. Today, since midnight, it just kept going up, down, up, down.
Yeah. How? How can it be?
Fear. It's simple. It's fear. Nothing has been destroyed to cause this amount of money, 101 to 105.
It's greed.
It's fear. Not just greed.
But it's a combination of fear and greed.
Another interesting thing that's going to happen, there are 24 states that want to possibly legalize the Arizona type law, and it's on ABC right now. I think that's even more interesting. There's just
Arizona what?
The Arizona immunization laws.
They want to legalize it?
Yeah, there's like 24 states that want to like play around with it. It's on ABC News. And Texas is one of them. I understand. Right now we have all these illegal people here.
The reason why American citizens are being murdered near the border practically every day. Every day we're hearing more and more, about, the U.S. agent was murdered down there. They said it was planned to murder him and everything. And it's all these drug dealers. And I don't understand why that our president isn't taking control of our borders and protecting our citizens. I don't understand. Are we not worth protecting? Honestly, if he would protect them, he'd probably get a little more votes. And his approval rating might go up a little bit more if he'd start protecting us a little better. Think about it. Just saying. So what else are we going to talk about?
Wow.
I had a lot of articles we posted today on Eternal Flame News that
I've looked at
there's just so much going on in the world. It's just the entire world is just in chaos.
Yeah, everything's getting really, 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 really crazy. But here's the other thing. Newsy's talking about why teens are having less sex, and I'll play this clip for you guys in the chat. It's probably because they interviewed like over 5,300 people from 2006 to 2008, and it looks like one of the reasons why some of them are looking at porn, some of them are realizing they don't want to accept the responsibility of, what? Having to take care of a child. Mm-hmm. So there are some people here that are committing sin, but then there's another group of people who are saying, I don't want to deal with these responsibilities. You know, that they're talking about giving the day after pill to little kids, and this guy goes on and on and on. I'm like, it's crazy. So back to the good news. I'm like, we've been reviewing since like December. We've helped 3 different families. I had to say families because they don't have families.
Yeah.
And we've raised like almost $5,000 total between 3 different people since December. Yeah. Some of the money's come in 24 hours. Some of it's come in 2 or 3 weeks. Mortgage payments of over $400 have come in 5 to 10 days at a time. And people have asked us, where do we go next? Well, the next step for JMC Ministries is to continue to be transparent with you. Mm-hmm. We're not going to be asking you for any more donations. If someone comes to us, or say like Candy's still struggling, as we know, if something happens with some of the people we've helped or whatever, or someone else new comes to you, then we're going to ask for your help again.
Basically, the way I think about this fundraising is, the church community. You go to a church and you'll hear the pastor say, we're going to take up a love offering this evening instead of a regular offering to help so-and-so in need. And I believe that this is how I look at what we do with fundraising. We go to the Christian community through online social networking, and we just ask for a love offering. And that's basically, I don't feel, because we're not doing this for ourselves. It isn't just a fundraiser, hey, let's help JMC Ministries, let's get us a big building, hey, let's get us this and get us that. No, we're not asking, it is specifically, we only ask for a love offering, donations from the community out there, if there is an actual need. And we will, we do background checks on these people. We want proof that we say we won't help unless you can show us the proof. We have to see the bills. We have to know exactly what's going on. You have to be transparent. And sometimes we've had people say, I can't be that transparent with you. And then we say, I'm sorry, but we can't help you. If you will not be transparent, people will not give.
And see, that's the weird thing. A lot of people think we're always just getting donations all the time. Like, no.
We don't. No.
To be even more
we actually give donations more than we take in.
To be even more transparent, the last time I personally asked for money is when I went on my mission trip in 2000. Since I've been in Ohio, I have been given $50, I think, one time for speaking on my trip to Africa. I did not ask. Mm-hmm. We didn't ask for a love offering. Yeah. We didn't help. We just said, I just want to share about my trip. Yeah. And the guy would refuse to keep the money.
And we've been asked to go to churches
Then we asked to go to churches and sing.
And they give us a love offering.
We tried to refuse, and they gave us, I think, $25 or something like that.
Something.
We do things all the time, and we don't ask for money. People ask, so how do you pay your bills? I'm like, well, Miranda's on disability. I'm in school using my veteran benefits. What happens when that's done? Well, we'll do with what we have. I will find a job. I will work a job, and I will tithe my 10% of that job. And if I have anything left over, that will go to support what we're doing, or it'll be part of that 10%. Because what we feel like, I don't feel like giving 10% to a building. I feel like giving our 10% to people.
We do give the
churches. I look around at some of the churches, and I'm seeing these big chandeliers and their silver gold lined plates.
But then their members are coming to us and saying, I need help.
And then we have members that go to these big churches and they ask us for help, and they're not getting any help or only getting small help. That doesn't mean all big churches are bad. No. But I want to be the kind of ministry where I can't be accused of using money wrong. That's what this comes down to. Yeah. I don't want to be accused of trying to get your money. I don't want your money. Keep your damn money. I don't need it. Because I don't want your money. What is that from? It's from a movie with actually Michael W. Smith. It's a quote.
Called The Second Chance.
Called The Second Chance. And he says, Michael W. Smith doesn't, but this pastor, he's a small urban church guy, and he's at a mega church, and he's like, we've been getting your money. He's like, keep your damn money. I don't need your money.
Unless you're willing to
come here and physically help, because it doesn't matter how much money in the world you give. I don't want to pay. I can't pay someone to help me who's not there.
Exactly.
And that's kind of how we're coming from. I don't ask for money if you're not willing to help someone. And I don't need the money. I mean, yeah, Miranda's sick. She's got her medical bills, and we've had people help for that. We've talked about that. And we have a couple taking care of Miranda's medical bills till June, and then
and that just came out of nowhere.
And that came out of nowhere.
Somebody said, "I feel like you're in need, and I want to help you in some way." And God put it on their heart, and I said, "How did you know this? We don't talk about what my illnesses and where I've been in and out of the hospital and have had surgeries and had to have see specialists." And they said, God just told me. And so they said, we want to help you for an entire year and help pay the minimum payment that you owe every month on your medical bills. And they say, we want to help you so that you can help others more. And that's what...
Exactly.
This is what
the
this
agreement was,
they
they said, well, the amount of money that you would have had to spend paying the medical bills, you can use that to help other people.
Yeah.
So we were tithing our 10%, subtracting this money. Mm-hmm. So for this last year, we've secretly, most of the time, given that portion of that money every month to help someone else.
Yeah.
And that will end around June. So we have until about June to really help a lot of people. The VA is going to be changing my plan where I will not be getting paid our housing allowance on vacation time. So instead of getting my regular payment, then it ends up going to...
But the reason we're sharing this so we can be transparent. And
yeah,
say,
I'm just letting you guys know.
We're human too. We're not like out there doing.
I'm sitting in a chair in a bedroom practically, with a puppet stand with a curtain in front of me. I mean, that's all this really is. I mean, I could spin the computer around where you could see, but
it's an office. It's your office.
It's pretty much a bedroom, a two-story bedroom, and it's one of the bedrooms with a futon in it. I'm not someone that wants to be unapproachable. Yes, I'm quite busy. Yes, I'm with school and Miranda's illnesses and her family and everything else. Yes, but I do try to make myself available. And I want to be an example and say, well, you don't have to jump through corporations and nonprofits and tons of paperwork and waiting to help someone.
And hundreds
I
of
want
dollars.
you to be the kind of person Christ would be. If Christ was here right now and Christ had someone walk up to him and say, I can't pay my bills, he might have been able to wiggle his nose and money would just fall out of the ground or something. But he would have done something.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to wait until you feel convicted to want to help someone. It should just be an instantaneous, normal thing. Yes, the devil is going to tempt you to help bad people. And at the same time, some of those bad people you're supposed to help. Because you're supposed to help those that don't help themselves.
Sometimes.
And you're supposed to help those that do help themselves.
Christ came and died for all, not just those who deserved for him.
Christ don't just die for those who always give their 10% tithe. Christ did not just die for those who drive the nice cars and smell good all the time. I was one of those fat, smelly kids in school that most people didn't want to hang around.
I think what we always try to stress when people start looking, wow, you do so much. I can't believe you do all this. I say, God does it. God does everything. God has brought JMC Ministries to the point where it is in just 3 years since we got married. 2007. September 22nd, 2007 was when we really truly started the ministry. That was the day we got married. And we said, what do we want to do? We know God has a plan for us in ministry, but what is it? And I told Jeremy, I said, I think what God wants us to be is just 2 little people being available for him to use to help one person at a time and one family at a time. Because we cannot go any farther or get any bigger than God allows us to. And there's people that say, oh, you could do this, you could do so much more, you could do big here, big there, big this. And I said, no. You know why I say no? Because Jeremy and I both do not want to be any bigger than what God wants us to be. And I think about the song by Audio Adrenaline, I don't want to be bigger than Jesus. Is that what it is? I think about that song by Audio Adrenaline. I don't want to be or something like that.
Yeah,
but I think that's what it comes down to.
We can't be any bigger than what God wants us to do. We're going to actually take a break, guys. What I'm going to probably do during the break for the chat room is I'll probably just be here chilling with you guys. If you have any questions, comments, podcast people, you're great. We'll be right back. Welcome back to JMC Live. To wrap up what we said a minute ago, I think God wants to, and it's not like it's just my personal decision. I know God wants us to help people as much as we can. He doesn't want us to get into debt. He wants us to get out of debt and forgive others, help ourselves, and do what we can. Which leads to what's happening right now outside of Arlington. This is the Star-Telegram in Texas, and prayer vigils scheduled outside Arlington Church where the pastor was killed. They don't know if it was a robbery or what.
Well,
the assistant got beat up,
and
I think a van was stolen.
Mm-hmm.
And the there's a small church, and it looks like the pastor was murdered over what? I have no idea. They don't know.
Somebody just came to the church and they looked.
They're looking for a 2007 Mitsubishi Galant, which is a car. Oak Farms Dairy is offering a $10,000 reward for it. And it's stories like this that it really hurts, because I've heard the stories here in Ohio where a pastor stolen tithe, and now we got pastors being killed, and then you got other pastors in other states that are driving Lexuses and stuff through their church, saying you are a Lexus. And why can't we just imitate Christ? Why can't you just come as you are? You don't have to be so big and boisterous. I'm wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt sitting here that I got stained cleaning the house with bleach. Why? Because I'm just relaxing and I just want to be me. Yes, if I had a corporate job, I'd be required, not that I'd want to probably put my hair down and put on a 3-piece suit and look like a silly goofball walking around.
No, you'd look handsome.
But yeah.
But it's not comfortable. But sometimes you do have to get out of your comfort zone. But I think we want to be willingly going into...
Yeah, there's that whole divide
willingly wanting
right now.
to imitate Christ. We want to willingly, live as He lived and love as He loved. I think that's it. You have to be willingly wanting to change your life.
Mm-hmm.
To truly make a difference.
You have over in Pakistan, you have the slain Christian cabinet minister that people are praying about.
The only Christian cabinet member.
It was crazy. It's over here on CBN. And I'm like, across the world, there's persecution and things. And I don't want to make the show all negative tonight. That's why I'm trying not to talk about a lot of the stuff that we posted
It's
today.
so hard not to.
But it's so hard as we sit here and we think, or when Miranda thinks, or if I'm involved with Eternal Flame News for the days that I do it, what do you post? What's relevant today? Well, not relevant. What is time-tested, culturally always going to break through and through? I don't want to just post the latest fads. Although, yeah, there's a guy who created a waterless Bible for homeless people, which I think
waterproof
is great.
Bible.
Waterproof,
yeah,
waterless
really
Bible.
Cool.
That's really awesome.
We want to get one.
I have a duct tape Bible, which is kind of like the same thing. But I think...
It is really hard to find positive articles anymore.
I think when gas is going up, and the Middle East is going crazy, and people are upset and afraid and worried about their benefits, because the insurance companies are changing, so their medical plans are changing. They're being told they can't get raises, or maybe they can if they do this, that, or another.
If inflation would stop going up, then people wouldn't be trying to demand money so much. But I mean... That's
the thing. Inflation's going to blow up really big.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen is it's not going to be really the rich people that are going to have money, because they're going to the biggest rich people are going to be refinancing their money in other places where they think money will last.
Yeah.
It'll be the Christians that the Christians that know how to balance a budget, their own budget, not the government budget, that will be able to continually give. And if you go to Africa, an example of giving is taking literally your shirt off your back and giving it to someone because they're cold and sick.
Or giving them a pair of shoes because they have.
Or giving them shoes, or toothpaste, or toilet paper.
Yeah, there normally is no toilet paper.
Here in America, there are places that are actually already at that level, where just being able to live, people are repairing people's homes for free. People are donating food to food pantries, or just regular people here in Ohio. There's a church that actually goes out every Wednesday, and they just bring a meal to someone. Yep. I've been there. I've talked to them about it. They want to partner with us and try and get more people involved, which I think is a good idea. Because there are a lot of people out there that they can't get food stamps because they own a home. And if you own a home and a couple of cars and you make just enough too much money, you can't get the help. So, well, why would they not be able to get food stamps? Or if they're making a lot of money, what's the deal? We got to think about 2 car payments, a mortgage, paying on your whatever else you owe, college, kids. Eventually, $30,000 ends up becoming, wow, I got $75 to last for the next 2 or 3 weeks, and my kid might have a play coming up, or if he's in band or sports, oh wow, they're having a trip. He needs money to eat. So you have to take everything into reality as what's going on. And I think if we stand up as the Christian body and say, I will be the example to help others because Christ helped me. And that's what happens when you first get saved. And it doesn't matter if you're 45, 5, or 95. You're a baby in Christ. You have humanly knowledge, but Christian knowledge, that's something completely different. I've been saved since I was 8 years old. I'm 30 now. So I have almost 20 years of being a Christian, going up and down with what is God, what is not God, how does this work, how does this not work. And I can tell you, God is very consistent in what He does every single time. God doesn't change.
We're the ones to do it.
And I mean, everyone said, well, that's because we're the ones that change. So I'm like, well, that's not the point but that's not the point I'm trying to get at. The point I'm trying to get at is do you honestly have faith to know that God is always there for you? Mm-hmm. And through the right ways that you can maneuver yourself, through prayer, fasting, reading the Bible, fellowship with other brothers and Christians, you can learn how to speak. You say, well, I don't speak. Well, look at Moses. Look at other people. Look at me. Was I the speaker in school? No, I was the shy kid that didn't have a lot of friends, that I didn't really talk to, but here I am doing a talk show with you guys right now. How did that happen? Because God gave me boldness. I'm not this guy who talks all the time. I go to college class, I might talk to 2 or 3 people about class, and that's about it. We go to class, do our work, come home.
Yeah, you come home and then talk.
I talk to Miranda.
That's when you get bold.
It's really crazy. I don't want to say a lot because there's a lot of things in my heart right now I want to share. And I don't have a Bible out in front of me. I'm not going to throw a bunch of verses at you tonight. I just want to level with you guys because it's time that we wake up and realize.
I think also what we need to wake up to is, what are the necessities in our lives?
Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, have you evaluated what's in your life? You know,
what is the junk you need to get rid of? All these extra things. We've gotten
rid of movies. We've gotten rid of games. We've gotten rid of clothes. Some people say, well, I'll just donate it to the Salvation Army. Well, you know what? The Salvation Army, no offense, and Goodwill and others, they're going to sell it.
Yeah.
And they sell it at a discount price, and they have rehab programs and other programs that help people. But what if right in your own community, even on your own street, or in your own apartment complex, what if there's someone who needed those clothes and could not go
that's what I think
and
about.
Pay for it?
What is it? I mean, I know if you have worked hard for what you have a right to have it. But also,
it comes to here's the simple thing, and it's a simple test. It's called the Refiner's Fire Test.
Yeah.
Miranda's never heard of this probably before. She's saying yeah, but The refiner's fire test. The Bible is very clear, and I told you I was going to tell you a bunch of verses, but I'm going to tell you this. The Bible is really clear that you must test the mind of your heart. Your heart is what we consider, how we feel, our emotions. You must test your emotions, which we call our heart, and literally your mind, how you think. If this piece of paper, which has, I guess it has musical notes on it. This musical note sheet of paper, if this is too important for me, then I can't tear it up. I can't tear this up. I need this too much. And I mean, yes, I understand. What are some of the necessities you need in life? You need water. You need food. And in today's society, because of Adam and Eve's fall, you need clothes. And you probably need some money. There are sometimes God's going to tell you to take the thing in your life, and He's going to tell you to give it to someone else. Mm-hmm. He's going to say, here, you can have this. Thank you. Yeah, I'm talking to myself in the first person. Other times, He's going to say, you need to just completely get rid of this out of your life. You just needs to go completely away. Gone. A good example that I've seen a lot of people do is they write a goodbye letter to their sin. You also need to write a goodbye letter to yourself and a goodbye letter to the things that you own.
Yeah. And
say, God, I never want the clothes and the cars and the games and the toys and the books and things that we have become more precious to me than my relationship with Christ is. Mm-hmm. If someone has a need, I want to be able to give it to them. Mm-hmm. Yes, God wants you to be able to read your books and play your games and hang out with friends and ride your bike.
But if they become more important than God...
But if you're spending more time with your games and your toys and your books and things, and yes, we're online all the time, and I'm reading stuff about God, there's times I have to get off of the internet and just not be on it. Mm-hmm. Miranda has a hard time with it being quiet. And the thing that we have to fast together is to sit in a room and not say anything at all. No noise, no reading, nothing. Because that's when you really hear God, is when you don't have anything go on. And we live in a society today where all this noise has to come on. You
can't live unless you have this new phone, and you can't be cool unless you're wearing this shoe or these clothes.
Unless you have all these things. And it gets crazy. I just don't understand.
I honestly think about how people survived before there was any phone, there was any internet, there was any
things went a lot slower.
People survived. People survive today without these. But here in America, if our little internet breaks for an hour, people are ready to scream. Oh my gosh, I am so sick of this internet service. It never works. Blah blah blah. I can't deal with it. And I think we have lost sight of what's truly important. And especially in today's economy, with everything going on, I think we truly need to take into perspective.
You got to take into personal inventory. What is important? I mean, yes, I don't want to put all the phone companies, cell phone companies, and internet cable guys out of business.
No, but I mean, we do need these things, but
let's start with the self. If you got clothes that need to be replaced, so like me, I had a pair of shoes, the whole back ripped out, and even wearing 2 pairs of socks, it ended up giving me a blister. Miranda finally convinced me, and I convinced myself, can I throw these away? I asked her because I didn't want to get rid of it. She's like, you need a new pair of shoes.
Yeah.
It'd been 3 years since I bought a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
The average person probably buys shoes every year. So that's a good example. And if you want to see it, I'll take a picture. I can't take a picture of the shoes. I've already never mind. I've already thrown them away. I was going to take a picture of them.
Yeah, they're...
But, you have to understand what's important. Because I think the reason why people can't give and help others is, first of all, they're not giving 10%. And what is 10%? 10% of what? 10% of your money before your bills or after? Some people say before, some people say after. I'm not going to get into the logistics of that. But if you can honestly, let's say you don't have the money to give to help people, which I have a lot of friends that are in that situation. What they're doing is finding ways to get rid of a cell phone because they have a house phone. Mm-hmm. They don't have the fastest internet. They got rid of the internet completely because they have a job and they don't need it. Or they've gotten rid of cable and they save $50
Majority of people do not have a lot of people don't have cable anymore.
Yeah.
And to be honest, There's nothing on that TV that is worth watching.
People aren't buying movies; they're going to Redbox and getting them for $1.
People are being more frugal.
You got to be smart and wise with everything you do. You got to be smart and wise with your money. You know, I know a lot of people, they get caught up in the credit card game, and I have credit cards and they're paid off. But my mother,
don't use those credit
my
cards.
goodness, my mother had 6 credit cards and they were all maxed out. And somehow she still applied for another one. This was in the 80s when credit card limits and things weren't that big of a deal. So they were able to do a lot more. And it was really crazy. And she just wanted to take care of me because she was on food stamps and she was disabled. And my grandmother was disabled. But take a priority and inventory of things.
Mm-hmm.
You know? It gets to the point where enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
And if our government, or any government for that matter, wants to balance the budget, I hate to say it,
and I truly
pay
believe
cuts will have to happen.
our government
And worst case scenario, layoffs. I mean, they're threatening layoffs in Wisconsin because Democrats don't want to vote. Yes, I know if they vote, they're still going to lose. That's why they're not there. I understand that. But what I don't understand is Republicans don't have to lay people off, and you don't have to take everything off. No one's wanting to agree on anything anymore. And that's why everyone's coming up with these laws and saying, well, we're going to have to take some rights away because it's either take some rights away or we're going to have to actually lay people off and fire them and they'll be without work.
And, you know, I think our government has truly given a bad image and bad ideas in people's head because of this. Well, we'll just give everybody all this stimulus money. We'll free money to everybody. We have all this money. Don't worry about paying your bills because we'll pay them for you. And I truly think that the government has kind of brainwashed people into thinking, well, we can just spend whatever we want because the government's going to take care of us.
Exactly.
And because but it is up to us. This government was founded for the people, by the people. It is run by the people. And I think we have to take that back. And we've also got to get this brainwashed crap out of our minds thinking we need all this stuff in our lives. And honestly, this stuff is not filling our lives with happiness. It is just filling our lives with more debt.
And like, well, if you got more, I mean, for instance, if you have the internet maxed out package and the maxed out cable, that's anywhere from $150 to $200. Well, I can very easily. We're not
talking about people who are okay. They can pay their bills. They can afford all this stuff. That's fine. If you can, more power to you. You've worked hard for that. And
that's like $1,800 a year. I mean, imagine if you got rid of
But when times are tough like they are, and gas is $5 a gallon, $4 a gallon across the country, we've got to buckle down. I mean,
you got to set things straight.
We aren't going to survive a depression if it hits. Most people are not going to survive because the society has changed the minds of the people. If we could be in the mindset back in the late 20s and early 30s, like my great-grandparents were, they survived. They knew what to do to survive.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with. I'm not saying it's sinful to have the Mac.
No, it's not.
To have things, but are you able to?
If it's putting you in debt, if it's putting you in debt, and you're not able to put food on the table, if these things are taking food out of your mouth, clothes off your back, money that helps you to keep the necessities of life, they need to be let go. They need to be let go.
Yeah, and. I'm not one to always talk. I've screwed up on things. I thought my credit card was going to be safe once in California, and I went and took someone else to a night steak dinner, and they messed up the card and triple charged it, and I owed over $400 in back fees because the things I paid for messed up, and at the same time I didn't get paid by the military. So if everyone is pretty much in America, a majority of the people are about 3 paychecks away from being homeless.
That's what they say, yeah.
And it's almost everyone now. It's real scary.
It is scary.
I don't think people save that much. We don't talk about saving. We always talk about buy, spend, bin, sell. And I'm thinking about, I got to go to the store and get groceries tonight. But you have to be careful, You know,
the way that I was raised was if you want something, you work for it and save for it. And that's how I have bought all of our things. I mean, everything we have, Jeremy, that's what we did. We worked hard for it, and we saved, and then we went and bought it. Because buying stuff on credit, they're going to charge you more for it. Those interest rates, I know some people that have a 30% interest rate on some of their credit cards, and that is not, you're paying. You might as well be buying two of the same one thing.
Yeah.
And I think we've lost sight of time. Everybody wants it here and now. We want a quick fix. We want everything now, fast. We want to go through that speedy checkout line. We want to go through that speedy drive-through. Get your food in 60 seconds. And, sometimes you've got to slow it down.
You got to slow down, go buy the items, cut them up, boil them, cook them, and serve them yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with fast food Christianity today.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Fast food Christianity is what we've become.
Spiritually, sometimes, yes.
We don't take the time to just sit and be quiet, because that's how God talks to you normally. Mm-hmm. You read Psalms and Proverbs, like, well, in the stillness by the waters, I hear the voice of God. Or the rolling thunder of the voice of God. It's like, well, how do you hear these things if you don't get away? And back during the Colosseum days, when there was all the murdering, killing, destroying stuff happening, and then Shakespearean days and the plays are coming out, history repeats itself. There's always some kind of attention getter. Mm-hmm. There's always rich, and there will always be poor.
Yes. And that's sad.
But in the Christian mindset, the poor needs are supposed to be met. Some will remain poor, others will not. But if we learn to take care of each other, things can go a lot better. And you can get beyond this fast food Christianity.
And I think also we have lost respect and compassion and empathy for our fellow man.
The United States is split between the North and the South still. They call them Yankees or Southerners or whatever words you want to use. And it's a mindset now more than anything.
Yeah.
The South is more trying to take care of everyone, because technically the South in the olden days was the poor part, and the Northern was the rich part. Mm-hmm. And you can kind of see that based on the fact that I am from the South, living here in Ohio, been to New York, been to other states, California. You can see a complete mindset change when you go from the East to the West Coast, North to South. How do people treat you? And it's Christians and non-Christians, because it's not wrong to want to not help someone, because when you live in certain states or in certain areas, even in the South, if they don't help themselves, they're bad people. If they're poor, they're bad people. If they're very rich, they're bad people. And you have this big divide. Mm-hmm. We're about to announce someone who's going to Latavia. And we're kind of like that country of Latavia, where you just have the high class and low class. Literally, you can have a 6-bedroom mansion with satellite TV next to a squatter camp house made of mud and local steel parts. Unlike here in the United States, you have to drive through different areas. Sometimes they're gated communities to see the rich people. Yeah. Other countries and others, and even in some states, it's not so divided. But they're not helping each other. That's the whole problem. Everyone's talking about the end times. There's some end times prophecy happening in the Middle East. But the bigger end times prophecy that has to happen is the other 2,000 to 3,000 languages need to be translated. Christ needs to be revealed. Revival, Holy Ghost, all that wonderful stuff can only happen if we learn how to help each other. And through this social network, there's no reason why Jesus Christ shouldn't have the most friends.
Exactly.
In the whole wide world, and the Bible should be translated in every known language that is on the internet for free. There's no reason why it shouldn't. And everyone in the world that has access to the internet should be allowed to have an email and a message about Christ.
Anybody today really can get the internet.
The end times is practically almost here.
Well, anybody really, as long as you can get to a public library, you can get on the internet. So it is out there to be used. And that's, someone told us yesterday, they said, what you do with social networking is exactly what it should be used for.
Exactly.
we're not trying to spam people or...
you have the porn industry who makes billions of dollars off the internet, and there's a lot of free porn.
Why can't
amateur
God,
porn
why
and,
can't
and
God
all this
make
other crap?
Too?
But you can't have the Christian alternative of trying to make a difference and trying to help people. Why not?
Yeah.
I think you can. I honestly think you can have people making a difference across the globe, no matter how far it is. And yeah, I've taken this conversation to a global level.
Well, we have...
And you know what? You have to, because...
Well, we
gotta look at the bigger
had people follow our
things that are
ministry
going on.
in other countries and actually supporting us and writing us and say, "I love what you're doing. You know, keep up the good work." And I'm grateful. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, and you have to understand that in the today's society that we have, and the things that we're doing, people can see, especially if you're online, and even if you're not. What you do in private is what counts the most. But now, what you do in the social media network can affect you. If you're a kid or a teenager or a young adult and you're posting all of your photos of half-nakedness, drinking, and sucking on limes, when you get done with your college, they're going to find that out and they're not going to want to hire you.
Yeah.
What kind of person do you want to be?
What kind of person do you
You're
want to
leaving a
portray
legacy
yourself?
imprinted online for those that
Yeah.
watch the online networks.
Basically,
Nothing is ever truly deleted.
I mean, basically what it comes down to is what kind of image do you want to portray yourself as? Because whatever you put out there, that's the image that people are going to have engraved in their minds of you. Whatever you write on your Facebook wall, whatever you write to people, that's going to leave a mark. If you're sitting there saying, claiming to be a Christian or a follower of Jesus or, of any faith, and you start posting stuff that goes completely against it, they're going to, people will start deleting you. People will say, I don't want to be around this person. They're fake. And we're not all perfect. I mean, I know there's times in a heat of moment people can write things and then they feel horrible. Like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have wrote that. I want to delete this. And, why did I do that? But, I think what it comes down to is you have to pray before you post. Pray before you speak, basically. And, take captive your thoughts and what you're writing out there. Because, whatever you write, how many ever friends you have, they're going to see that. Mm-hmm. Whether they know you personally or just through online social networking, they're going to have an idea implanted in their head of who you are.
Yeah, they will. And without further ado, this is the end of tonight's show, actually. We're going to leave it at that.
So I got the last word.
Brenda gets the last word this week. And your closing thoughts as we end.
My closing thoughts is, I think that in today's society, like we said, we need to really take an inventory of what's our necessities in life and what's really important in our lives, and what junk do we need to get rid of that's making us stumble, and what's keeping us from fully living the life that Christ wants us to live. And I think that's the final thought, and that's where we're going to end it.
Well, thank you for tuning in to JMC Live. We do this every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can check out our archives on youtube.com/JMC Ministries Live, or the podcast at jmclive.podomatic.com. We'll see you next week.